You're watching the Tesla Live with your host, Mark Coughlin.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Tesla Live number 320 on this August evening, the 16th of 2023. Hope everyone out there is having a great day. And yeah, we've got the regular panel in place. Co-hosts Casey and Patrick. And someone's working overtime with the sound effects, obviously, but that's fine. That's fine. That's probably Casey Green joining us from the East Coast, Central East Coast. How are you doing today, sir?
Doing pretty well, staying dry and trying to stay cool and succeeding in both of those, actually. But
that's good. That's good.
Yeah, I was looking at my my range degradation, and that was sobering.
Concerning sobering,
but when you look at the miles,
how many years you had that vehicle now, Casey?
This is 5 years and 88,000 miles, I believe. 86,000, somewhere around there.
86,000? Okay.
Yeah. So it's down 8%. But when you look at the distribution of superchargers around this area, I don't get to 200 before it wants me to stop. It can still do more than 200, but that's somewhere in the middle of nowhere. So it's like, yeah, you need to stop first because you're not going to make the next one.
Yeah. And you've got that bonus of unlimited supercharging associated with your vehicle, free of charge. So that's a bonus for sure. Yeah. For sure. And speaking of someone else that's familiar with supercharging, we have Mr. Patrick Connor joining us from the West Coast. How are you today, sir?
That's right. I'm good. I no longer have free supercharging for life. We sold that Model X that had that, and I'm sad to see it go. Oh, geez. Yeah, I guess I'm allergic to losing it.
Look out! He's allergic to paying for supercharging.
Yeah,
I paid $6 the other day because I forgot to unplug. Elon reached right in my wallet and grabbed it, took it.
Oh, we had some. I paid a Tesla a little bit of money today. We had a mobile service come out to our house, and they replaced the filters in the Model 3. They did the camera harness trunk recall that had happened, and all the other little things they do for free, like checking the tires and the tread and the pressure and all that stuff. There was also an item on there that was interesting. It said fixing the seatbelt chime software update. Why wouldn't that be over the air? I'm not sure why that had to be part of the service. Or maybe they're just confirming that it's installed or whatever.
Oh, you know what? I wonder if one of yours was part of the batch that had there were a few anchors that were not properly tethered, and so maybe they just wrote it up as it was a chime, even though it was an inspection.
Oh, yeah, interesting. Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, that neither of those make sense actually. Why would they catalog it wrong, and then why would they need to do software and mobile service? But just have the fact that you can, if you need something done in your car, you can schedule. And they just said park it in the driveway the night before, and then they just took care of it. It was a contactless event, so I saw the guy out there working, but just got a text message that they were there. Text message when they were done, confirmed everything. And it's easy peasy, way better than driving in, dropping off the car, getting a loaner, doing all that other stuff. It's great.
But somebody is not against policy, and that you've got the HomeLink module, and that you've got the garage door installed in your car. And it's the only one for that area. You could theoretically leave it in the garage and have them open your garage, do it, and close it like the Amazon guy.
Right. Yes. Yeah. I have actually used that when I was my garage. The door was the keypad was blocked by some stuff, and so I just went into the app and had the car open the garage door for me, which is kind of funny. I'm standing outside the door, but I have to go all the way through the internet and back to get it to Yeah, kind of funny.
It's still faster than doing HomeLink, because if you close it with HomeLink, you gotta wait for the beeping and then the lockout period and then for it to go down while beeping.
You mentioned battery degradation, and so since we just got this Model Y, I'm trying to figure out what the initial battery capacity is in the pack capacity, and so Tesla no longer publishes that data since the Model 3 came out. It's no longer even like part of the badge, like they had the 80, 85, 90, P100D. They don't have the numbers in there as part of it anymore. And even when they did, those weren't exactly accurate. But
yeah, like mine said 100, but it's 102.
Right. Yeah. And the 90 was really more like 88, and the 85 was more like 86, which really made the 85 and 90 pretty close. But
right.
So all the stuff I found online said it was between 75 and I think the highest one I found was 82. But I'm looking at the Monroney sticker and it says it uses 28 kilowatt hours per 100 miles. And it's 330 miles of range. So the simple math, 3.3 times 28 is 92-ish. And that's none of them say anything in the 90s.
No.
So yeah, so I have, if anybody has a good source for what the actual capacity in the long range 2023 Model Y is, please share it in the chat. It's weird that, and you could say, oh, well, those numbers on the Monroney sticker are just estimates. Right, I'm not saying that's the actual range I should get or will get or whatever, but they're from the EPA, both of those, the efficiency and the range. So those two should at least be using the same scale. And then to confirm that number, I used the miles per gallon equivalent. So it's 122 miles per gallon equivalent. And if you do the math on that for 333 miles, it comes out to 91 kilowatt hours.
So they're not using the electricity
91 or 92. Say again?
So they're not using the energy that went in from the wall that you get to keep.
Yeah, there would be some. Yeah, if I don't think they're doing it that way, there would be some losses in charging. Maybe that's part of it.
Any of those third-party softwares give you the ability to actually read what is in the pack? Is any of those?
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So I do have Teslafy. I use Casey's referral, and I'm now with a referral, you get extra weeks of a free trial period. And they do have a battery health report in there somewhere. Here it is, right here. And maybe I can share this. No, it's better if I don't.
If you pull it from the CAN bus, it should tell you at least what they tell themselves it is, even if it's not the real number.
Right. So I would have to get TM Spy and a Bluetooth dongle to do that. Yeah, and so I will do that.
Word warning, different than your Model X on the Model 3 and Y, you have to make sure you power them down before you connect the dongle. Otherwise, either one, it can be detected, or two, it might do some weirdness while you connect that.
So like
the adapter cable that makes it come back as a regular OB2 port.
Okay, all right. If they detect it, what do they do? You're saying then what?
They're not doing anything wrong. It's just you just don't want them to like freak out over anything, because other people would be using it to like the people we talked about last week that were fuzzing the features.
Oh, yeah, it's a standard port. I mean, you should be able to plug all kinds of diagnostics and other stuff into it and read data off of it. I can see that they might be concerned you're trying to hack the car, but it's a standard port. I'm the owner. I should be able to plug in whatever I want. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So all right. So next week I'll give you
the main concern is blowing any of the fuses that aren't self-resetting. There are many of them left on those cars.
Right.
Yeah. While you look up what you were looking up, I've been told that the Plaids actually have less battery capacity than mine came with.
Wow.
Like in the 90s instead of just over 100.
Interesting.
That's one of the stories we didn't tackle this week. The lower priced S and X with a battery software lock to lower it. So probably give you the ability at some point in the future to maybe pay for an upgrade. But that's kind of interesting that they've done that with the S and the X.
Mm-hmm. I really like that.
They started with the Model S 40 way back in 2012, and then
it's not that low.
No, but I mean they've done They've done software locking a couple times in the past.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, and this allows a lower entry point because a lot of people are doing a Tesla stretch, and then after you've had it a while, you have it paid off. You're like, oh hey, now I can drop that extra 8-10K to get the extra range. So yeah, that's a pretty cool way to do it.
That'd be a great option to do that maybe 3 or 4 years down the road when you might be financially able to handle it. So
Tesla didn't say no when people asked them if they were going to allow you to unlock it later for a price. They said, we'll look at it. And in the past, the answer, except for that one Canadian model that they did for the tax credit purposes, they've always let you unlock it. So
yeah.
And that one, it just would have been against the law for them to let you unlock that one. So they
Right. Although I don't know, has Tesla confirmed that it's software locked? I mean, that's what everybody suspects.
Oh, okay. That's what all the three news stories I've seen have said it is. But
and we're making that assumption based on the weight being the same.
Yeah. And then Tesla did do ballasts for a little bit, but they stopped that years ago. So if the weight's the same, it's probably got some cells in it, whether they are dead cells or whether they work. Because that's a good way to throw them away. Is just put them in somebody's car.
Put them in someone's car. They figure at that point there's someone else's problem. Yeah,
exactly.
Right. Yes. This isn't implanned. This was just the cars that didn't pass inspection.
Canadian cars. The ones that test really good become plaids.
I hope that's not the case. I hope that's not the case.
I'm sure it's not.
Well, let's get to the first story of the week because we got a whole bunch to handle this week, and Casey's got it about CyberTruck off the top.
Yeah. So we've been seeing CyberTruck left, right, and center, and the story we're going to talk about today is the CyberTruck tire size has been disclosed on a release candidate that was in an enclosed trailer, and it came out to be 35 inches outside diameter, as we had expected, but this particular one had 285/65 R20s, and so 35-inch tires on a 20-inch rim, and it had 6 lug nuts. So we're thinking it's a little bit more heavy duty than the other wheel attachments that we found on the previous Teslas. And there it is. Also, this is now about the third wheel style I've noticed underneath the aero covers.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
that one had the tire size photo.
I think there is I think up to a certain size, DOT requires it to be 6 lug nuts. As opposed
maybe
to 5.
That's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a weight and size restriction that requires 6 lug nuts. I've seen that on, of course, Chevys and Fords in the past. If you start moving your way into the bigger trucks and the bigger tire sizes, you'll notice they all go to 6. Yeah,
6 and 7 and 8. Yeah. But that was exciting, and just more proof that this thing is working its way through the system. I saw a bunch of folks complaining about there were 50 Rivian R1, RDVs that were in a collision yard, and people were saying, "Oh, see, this is why electric cars are bad." But that number was very suspicious. 50 is generally the batch size that all these automakers do their tests in. So at some point, we're going to see 50 Cybertrucks piled up behind Texas or Fremont or in some random junkyard because it's illegal to sell or save any major components off of these crash test cars. So that's why they all show up together.
Yeah. Another big story of the week is, of course, there was a notification that Tesla has applied for the environmental permits for Giga Mexico. So that went earlier in the week. There was no confirmation back that Mexico had approved the permit, but it has been submitted. The other thing that was kind of pointing towards progress in Mexico as well was that some of the initial earth-moving equipment has been moved to the site. So there was confirmation that there was earth-moving equipment on site. And as we remember from Texas getting started, that, of course, was the first thing that happened is leveling of certain hills and such for the build had started. So haven't heard about equipment moving, but it is on site, probably waiting for the approval of that permit.
I still suspect that Mark is right, that they're going to, as soon as that paperwork comes through, they're going to start doing their work. Whether or not the executives have gotten together to do their photo op with the fake shovels.
Yeah. And of course, that's when
this time.
That's when the clock starts, and of course, we can all have bets as to when the plant will be done, when it'll start producing vehicles, tests, or maybe even ones that go to the customers, because we're going to be closely watching it, since Tom Zhu had indicated that yes, it can be faster than Shanghai, because I've done it once already in Shanghai, and I'm going to be in charge of the Mexican one. So we will see. We shall see. Here's a fun story. Just an update. We caught this before. I can share a picture, I believe. Let me just share a picture of this. Boom. Remember this?
Oh. Tesla beer.
Yeah, Tesla beer. Unofficial Tesla beer. Tesla has won their lawsuit against the maker of Tesla beer, and they are required to take these things off the shelf. They can no longer contain the logo T. Looks way too close to the Tesla brand. So they have won that case. So get them while they're hot, because they'll be a collector's item, because they're not going to be around for much longer.
Yeah, this actually looks more like it than some of the knockoff products that they've had as accessories. Except for that the two items have been merged into one. There's no cutout.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so especially when Tesla has a Giga beer of their own.
That's right.
They can use their alcohol trademark.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's hard to trademark something like the name Tesla that is a public name, but certainly on their service marks and logos and things, they've got lots of great protection on that. So when they're putting the Tesla stylized T on the front, they're definitely over that line.
They probably thought they could get away with it because there's no, the Tesla actual logo. It has a white space in between the top and bottom part of the Tesla logo, but apparently it's darn too close for the court. So they've been Tesla beer is officially off the market.
But what's funny is this is in China, so I imagine that if Tesla didn't have Giga Shanghai, they might have got the regular treatment of just being brushed off.
Yeah, that's probably the case. There's a lot of copyright trade infringements that happen in China to Western companies that do not or are not in that market at all, and that's been a common complaint of certain groups that own trademarks and such, that it's kind of the Wild West if you're not in business there. But of course, Tesla's got this elevated position in China, always has since the beginning of the building of Shanghai, that the Chinese government wanted them there. They wanted a first-class electric vehicle owner to be part of their system, and they get preferential treatment, I believe, in China in some cases. Other cases, no.
As long as you're not driving one of the autopilot-equipped cars past a party official.
Yeah, exactly. The camera thing, that's still happening too. There have been other stories about that recently. So that has not stopped, with China believing that, certain Chinese officials believing that Tesla's data, even though they said the data stays in China, it's something that they're certainly wary of and continue to be.
I think they're just telling on themselves. It tells you that that's something that they think that they would do if they were in the same shoes.
Yeah. Well, that's well. Look what Snowden came up with how many years ago.
Yeah.
So it's not like the intelligence agencies don't look for other options as to what's available to them. So who's to say? Who's to say what they're actually collecting?
Tit for tat, because we say that they do it with their laptops and cameras and cell phones over here. So they might just be reciprocating.
Yep.
Or it's something they do.
Yeah. Don't know. Don't know for sure.
But we don't have it on our list of stories, but Tesla's building a data center in Austin for dojo and for training. And I would not be surprised if they build one in China at some point as well, to help guarantee that all the data stays in China so that Chinese officials can be assured that the data is staying there. And also the rules of the road are different. So they're probably going to want a similar but different system, right? So it would be the same framework, but with different training data that's localized. And you'd want to be able to do that on site so that you meet all the security rules and just bandwidth use. Local.
Oh, you don't want to send that over cable now.
Just like another story was that they're hiring local to train FSD in China. So they're firing up their own local or regional group that's going to help them with implementation of FSD beta in China. So
we see one of these open up, and then 2 weeks later, FSD is alive in China.
Yeah. Actually, well, certainly it'll be a lot quicker for them since a lot of the data has been collected here in North America, and a lot of the bumps in the road have been discovered and they've been smoothed out. So
yeah,
should be a lot
run into
quicker.
buildings, don't run into other cars. All they have to learn now is the actual streets, the different GPS coordinates, and the markings, the local markings.
Exactly.
Right.
Next story, Patrick's got, and it has to do with a bunch of boxcars sitting in a looks like a paved area. What's this about?
That's
Patrick?
right. Yes. So this comes to us from Tesla Roddy. Almost 200 Tesla Megapack batteries spotted in the Lathrop Megafactory. Sorry. So they've got a bunch of Megapacks there at the Megafactory, and let's see, they've got a couple different versions of it. There's one that lasts 2 hours, one that lasts 4 hours. And we've talked about how these Megapacks are vitally important for moving to a future free from fossil fuels. If we want to electrify all the things, you've got to have backup electricity. And that means batteries.
Yeah.
So, it's really cool to see these going out. And of course, the drone army captured it all. Flying over. Yeah, they saw 193 Megapacks.
So if these were all sold at the absolute lowest price in the last couple of months, you're looking at $500 million of equipment out there, but likely so much more because thankfully the IRA came with some subsidies for businesses installing these. Right.
Yeah. So it says at over $2 million per Megapack, a production rate of 10,000 units annual. Wow. So yeah, that Musk has said in the past that eventually the battery business could be bigger than the car business, and that seems kind of hard to imagine because you don't see Megapacks every day. Like people have the market for them is smaller, but the demand for them is so much bigger.
Mm-hmm.
And keep in mind, from this photo from above, makes them look kind of small, but those are basically 48-foot tractor trailer size. That's what those each of those white boxes is. It's a tractor trailer 48 feet long. So that's a lot of batteries.
Wide, 8 feet tall.
Yeah, where's the banana for scale? Oh, you can't see it.
It's inside one of the containers. Somebody left it on.
It got smushed.
Exactly.
They don't get any complaints about rattles from those.
That's check it out here. All right, so yeah.
Giga Shanghai has produced 80,000 EVs in July, their second highest Model Y production ever.
80,000. That's their That's a tremendous amount of
in just 1 month.
output. One month.
Wow.
That is a lot of vehicles for sure.
Yes.
So
Yes.
but
So what happened to the shutdown that was supposed to happen?
Shutdown.
That's with the shutdown
Yes.
for retooling. Wow.
Retooling or Highland or whatever we're going to call it. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Interesting. So yeah, we're gonna have to check in at the end of this quarter to see how we're coming along with our progress towards how many they're going to make this year.
exactly. That'll be after this month. It's one more quarter to go, and we're there. So just 3 months left. 3 months and a bit.
Those 3 months of the grindstone. So whatever
I'm
they've done
crossing my fingers.
these 9 months, it is going to look like child's play.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But there,
I'm hoping for
it's
2 million.
and keep in mind that quarter four is always the biggest. So it's it's going to be down to the wire for sure.
Definitely.
Wasim is saying that they adjusted it. It's actually in August now instead.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Next,
They were on a roll. They had to set this record. You can't shut down right before you hit the record.
Right.
let's move on to the smaller Megapack, of course, known as the Powerwall. And there's some news in that, Patrick. What's that about?
That is right. So if you are in the UK or Australia, it's your lucky day.
Speak
Tesla
English. You
is
drive on the wrong
offering-
side of the road.
Not quite all places that drive on the wrong side get this discount, but yes. So let's see. If you've been eyeing a Tesla Powerwall as part of your home energy solution and you live in the UK or Australia, now might be the best time to spring for this deal. Buyers in those countries, Tesla is offering a discount on the device. And it's strange that they didn't just reduce the price, but instead they're offering this rebate. And it's 350 pounds, which since this is on Drive Tesla Canada, they convert that to Canadian dollars of 600 Canadian dollars. Mm-hmm. And you have to, the promotion is running from the 11th of this month through the end of the year. You need to have it installed and registered within that time period to claim the rebate. And you guys, I've blathered on so much about my Powerwalls. We love having them. It's been 102, 101 Fahrenheit or Fred, which is what 38 Charlie. So if you're gonna do it, I can too. And they went into storm watch mode, so they were ready if the grid went down. And there are certainly some outages in my area, but we were lucky we didn't have one. And then also we've had a VPP event this week. So a virtual power plant where the utility said, hey, please discharge your battery pack and we'll pay you for that. And at something like 10 times the rate that I buy electricity from them, I get back when they discharge it. So yeah, that helps make the grid more stable. That helps mean they don't have to turn on the worst polluting peaker plants that they have. So I highly recommend these. And especially if you can get into a VPP that helps pay for them, and you can get rebates like this, even better.
Yeah, if you can get great payback on, I would suggest getting an extra Powerball instead of just the one that you need or the two that you need. Maybe get another one just to be if you get great lights like Vermont. Maine, there's a few states that get fantastic rates. Check with your local utility. One thing I should mention is that they most likely require the discount to come not off of the price, but once you get it registered, to prevent people from just stocking up like a utility or whatever else and just keeping them at the lower rate and selling them to clients at full prop. So this is something where they have to actually get it registered and online to participate in these VPPs, and is another reason to get that registration.
It also incentivizes
Right.
you to make sure that that you do it in a reasonable time frame. Because if you order it on December 30th and expect the electrician to get this thing installed on December 31st, you're likely not going to get the money from Tesla.
Yeah.
Right. Mine was installed on December 31st in time to make a tax credit.
Yeah, but it probably wasn't ordered the day before. You probably
Oh, no.
You're like, come on,
Yeah.
hurry up.
Right. Yes. And then it was actually scheduled the week before, and they came out and they said, "Oh, we need this other part, so we'll come back."
Get
And
the
I was
part,
like,
come
"Wait. You need to come back quickly because this deadline, it will cost me $4,000 more if you don't come back by the." And they worked on the holiday to get it done.
To get her done.
Yep.
Fantastic. Next story Casey's got, and this is kind of interesting. That what was spotted at the side of the road, Casey?
So the investigative group, the ground force to the quad squad, they noticed a CyberTruck that was pulled over on the side of the road near a Model S, and it looked like somebody was working under the trunk. And then by the time they could whip the car back around and get near, the Tesla employee had already turned the already covered the CyberTruck with their little cover and disappeared. So what this individual did was they took pictures of the CyberTruck from the outside and then stuck a camera underneath.
They're not technically touching it, I guess.
We're not touching you.
Yeah.
And so they also got us pictures of the underside of the vehicle. So we got more pictures of the tires and a different set of wheels. But we see that the front suspension is cast on at least on this prototype, and the rear suspension is welded and stamped steel. And a couple of the pieces have New Zealand test stamped on them. And
New Zealand.
Yeah, New Zealand. Yeah. So I don't know if this vehicle was in New Zealand and came back, if it was intended to go to New Zealand, or it's on its way to New Zealand but broke down first, or maybe this is the control. Like they sent an identical truck over to New Zealand, and this is one in sunny California. Either way, folks are like, "Oh my goodness, see Tesla, blah blah blah, it's broken down." You want the thing to break down when the engineers have their hands all over it. You don't want it to break down in your driveway, because now that's not going to happen the same way again. They've got it fixed.
Exactly.
Yeah. But then after all of this went down, the fine folks at Monroe had a chance to take a look at all this, and they said that none of it seemed terribly remarkable or whiz-bangery, and that's also a good thing, because if they're using tried and true methods and they're simple, there's less to break, and it's going to be robust, and it's going to be reliable. Even the rear wheel steering, they weren't all that amused by. They did like how the airbags on the air suspension on the S and X, they're just kind of out there, like the boot is on the CV joints. They had like a aluminum or steel armor around the bag, which seemed like it made sense and seemed kind of thoughtful. And they
especially if you're going to be using this vehicle
off-road
for maybe some off-roading, right?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then they also said that part of the reason it's shaped the way it is probably so that if it gets into a small overlap crash, it will eject the wheel rather than shoving the wheel into either the door jamb or your feet. So yeah, I'd rather the car lose a wheel than lose my feet or get stuck in the car.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So that was exciting.
Yeah, it's kind of funny how after some of the crash tests or an actual crash, people post these pictures of the car that's just mangled. And well, if they're doing that to save the passengers, the occupants,
you can buy another car.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah, you can buy another car.
But if they hose you out and give the car to your next of kin, that's not the same thing.
Right. Yes, exactly. Yes. If it comes down to me or the car, one of us has to die. It's an easy choice.
I would have rather had Grandpa, but this is the car he died in. Let me make sure to avoid all accidents like he had.
Exactly. You want to be careful with that for sure. Mm-hmm. Speaking of careful with your car, there was this story this week about a person who had their Tesla totaled in an accident. And everything was, fine. They were not injured. The car was totaled. They gave up rights to the car because, of course, insurance was going to cover their cost, and they all went on their merry way. What happened was that a few weeks later, they got notified that their Spotify account, which was in the car, was being used. And they couldn't figure out why their Spotify account was being used. Of course, being in a crash, they didn't have time to reset the system. They just handed the car over to insurance, assuming that they would wipe everything clean. Well, apparently that did not happen because parts of the vehicle were resold. And get this, the signal was coming in from Ukraine in Europe. So the person that was listening to their Spotify tracks was in Ukraine, south of Kyiv. So it's kind of interesting that the parts are resold and reused when possible, and in this case, it went half the world away to be used in another build or partial build. But it was interesting that they got alerted through their Spotify account that the system was up and running in Kyiv, or not Kyiv, south of Kyiv in Ukraine.
Yeah. So when this happens to you, especially if you're in a non-legacy car, they have tiny capacities to keep everything running after a crash. Because what happens if your airbags deploy, the car kills the DC to DC converter, which means that your 12-volt battery is no longer being recharged. And on the newer cars with the 16-volt battery, that thing is even smaller than even the Model 3 launch battery. And then even the S and the X, their battery is also rather small. So just assume the car is going to die. And then when you come back to get your belongings from the crashed car from the junkyard, bring yourself a 12-volt jump box that you are verified works. I've seen where people have had it charged, but it didn't actually work. Anyway, make sure that your jump box works. Bring it with you. You're gonna your front will probably be closed unless it was pried open in the crash. You'll apply that to the emergency latch where you'll put the tow eye if it's a non-legacy car. If it is a legacy car, then there's various ways to get into your front trunk. Attach that jump box to your battery leads. Well, not necessarily to the battery itself, but you can where the battery would have gone if they took it out in the removal. And then when you're there, you're going to go into your screen, you go into the settings to reset your computer, just in case, especially if your company has told you, hey, we're not going to repair this thing. It's total loss. Sign it over. So at that point, say, hey, okay, I need to get my stuff out of the car. And by the way, while you're there, reset the computer. You might not want to do this if they say they're going to fix it, because now you got to put in all your home addresses and stuff again. So yeah, that's a pain. But once they say it's done,
I can see this never being done in a crash situation. Like I could just see a normal person going, "Up, the car's gone." They won't reset the data. Like it's just too nerds like us will do it, but nobody else is going to do it. Like they're just going to leave it.
The problem with this though is that you've got personal data in the car, your home address, your work address, your family, your favorite places, your Spotify account, especially depending on what subscription you're on, that could cause you troubles.
What they should maybe do is maybe modify the app to allow you to wipe it remotely. So the next time the vehicle is up and running, you should be able to, it gets alerted, hey, your vehicle's back online, press the wipe out, and that's it. It wipes it out and resets the factory.
Yeah,
perhaps, like when you're removing it from your account, one of the options is, do you want to factory reset this
next time we see it?
That.
Yeah, that'd be good. Or some sort of like when the airbags have gone off and it pops a glove box for you on the non-legacy cars again. If your airbags go off, your glove box will open. Maybe at that point they could have a prompt on the screen saying, "Hey, before I go, if you want me to clean up
before I go black, would you like to do something?" Yeah. Before I just die.
Before I walk into the light.
I prefer Patrick's idea that when it comes back online, if it's not on that same account anymore, then you'll go ahead and wipe it.
And if it isn't too much, I'd love the Space Odyssey computer to say, "Dave, what are you doing?" Dave,
my mind is going.
That would be great.
Since I just sold a Tesla, I kind of went through this. Obviously, it's not a crash, so I can take my time and figure out what it is that I was supposed to do. And there are some things. It's not like a normal car where you just sign the registration and verify the odometer and you're done. You have to do those things, but you should also do a factory reset. So that's one of the options. It's under control service. You can do factory reset. You should remove your dash cam storage if you've got that, because that's got all the times you got in your car and all that stuff. So especially if you've upgraded the drive, which a lot of us do. So you definitely want to take that. And then the last thing we just talked about, remove it from your account. You don't want to be able to track it after you've sold it and it's not your car anymore. But removing it from your account should be the last thing.
I reset my Model S and then left it on the account. and I was tracking the guy for like 4 weeks after he got the car. I was like, dude, when are you going to register for this thing? And like, it was a good thing it was me and not some nefarious person.
Honking his horn, putting it in valet mode for him.
Exactly. Changing his songs as he's driving down the road.
Yeah, well, the songs wasn't part of the software back then, but yeah, today. This isn't just a Tesla thing, though. This is all modern cars. Yeah. Like, if you can connect your phone to it, you need to make sure you've reset the system, or at least deleted your phone from the system before you trade in your car and buy a Tesla, or sell your car to the private party and buy a Tesla, or just in general, because they've all
You definitely want to be safe with your own data.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've seen folks where they did a proof of concept where they took the rental car and they played like an automated message like, hey, you rented a white Corolla from LAX on the 3rd of March. There's some more fees. Please enter your credit card number. And then as the guy starts going beep boop boop, the guy says, oh, hold on, this is a proof of concept hack, and you would have been what?
Yep.
Next.
And that's because he didn't take his phone out of the system.
Going to move on to Richmond, British Columbia, and get a load of this. Imagine coming back from dinner and finding your car with a dead duck on the hood. Even worse,
there when
you notice that the dead duck actually bounced, and that's what it bounced off of.
Oh.
So this Richmond family had gone for dinner, came back to their car and found a dead duck on the hood. And get this, they didn't actually know what caused this for quite some time until they figured out that they're actually on the flight path for Vancouver International Airport.
Bird strike.
So they're believing this bird got struck by an airplane coming in for a landing, dropped a few thousand feet dead onto the glass roof, and then bounced onto the hood. So not a pretty sight, but the mystery has seemed to have been solved. It was again something pretty bizarre. I know that I'd be scratching my head over that, knowing that when you arrived at the restaurant, there was no dent in your roof and there was no duck on your hood. So this was something that had happened, obviously, when they were away. And based on the strike on the roof, it looks like it just dropped from the sky a few thousand feet. I wouldn't think that a duck would have that type of terminal velocity enough to smash the window like that, but it weighs something, so eventually dropping a few thousand feet, I imagine it's able to pick up some speed.
Yeah, laden unladen swallow. That reminds me of a post I saw on Reddit last night. It was a blue colored bird. The guy said he had his window open and he was working on his computer, working from home. The bird flew in the window, defecated on his laptop, and then died right there.
What?
Oh my gosh.
One of the commenters said, message received. Eat mess and die.
Oh my gosh. You can't make that up. Like, that's the most bizarre thing I've ever heard. Wow.
It was like the saddest photo he showed. He's like, it was the bird mess. And then the dead bird was in it on his laptop. And he's like, what do I do now?
Oh.
You
Kinda
keep your
reminds
window
me
closed from now
The
on.
rest of the meetings for the rest of the day.
Exactly. Next, let's move on to Highland. Project Highland. There's all sorts of rumors that are out there now, and it's all centering around Giga Shanghai. There seems to be some sort of activity where they believe that this past Monday, a number of groups believe from some different reports, again, not from Tesla, these are suppliers and others that are coming up with this information, but they believe that as of this past Monday, which was the 13th or so, they have started to produce the new Highland project in Shanghai. And there's photos now of the Highland model, because we've got the covered front and covered back is now being released. They're seeing it driving around Shanghai on public streets. There are some photographs out there of people taking photos of this car. Actually, there's a couple different versions. There's a white one, there's a black one that have been spotted in the city around the plant. And of course, there is a drone limitation on Shanghai as well. They're not allowing drones to fly. So there could be cars being parked out back or away from telephoto lenses in between buildings and such as they start to do some of the test builds. But of course, it's going to be real hard to hide this as it moves along, because of course, Shanghai is producing, as we said in an earlier story, 80,000 cars in a month. So they're not going to be able to hide this for too long. This is going to be something that will be okay when they're doing the test models and making sure the machines are calibrated correctly and everything is rolling properly. But once they kick into high gear, of course, the cat will be out of the bag pretty quickly. But yeah, Derek, that's a good one. What the duck happened to my car? So yeah, and then here's the other speculation. If China is making the Model 3 Highland, could Canada get the Model 3 Highland before the US? Because we're now getting our cars from China.
Right.
There's that. But I'm thinking this weekend I had heard that they had only moved over one line to Highland. So if they went from one line to the whole plant in a weekend, then I'm guessing that they're probably going to go for a simultaneous release. And there's only 2 factories that make Model 3, right? So
yep.
We've seen Highland running around Fremont, so it may just be a matter of time before. And again, like if you see something you like, well, you may like Highland better, but from what we've been told is that it's all about cost cutting. So if you like what you see now, then you might want to consider getting the current Model 3. And then, of course, if you like Highland better, just chalk up that, was it 250 now? Just chalk that up and be like, yeah, I'd like to move it to another car. And if they say no, then it was just a gamble. But if Highland comes out and they're like, hey, you ready for this other one? Then you've locked that in before the one you don't want to come out. So
yeah, that was another one of the reasons we got our Model Y now was even if Juniper is the Model Y version of Highland, even if that one comes out and it's better, that doesn't make mine any worse. So I'm perfectly happy with what it is, and no regrets. And say again.
So especially if you don't like stockless, because that's a big rumor with Highland and Juniper, is that they're going to have the blinkers on the steering wheel and the drive on the screen.
Right. Yeah, and I'm sure I could get used to that. I would just prefer not to. So now I don't have to, because
you were locked in. Absolutely.
Right, exactly. I've got my vehicle, and I'm loving it.
You don't have autopilot over here or over here. They're both this.
Yes, right. Yes, now, yes. I don't have to have the wrong muscle memory when switching between cars.
Right.
Exactly.
Otherwise, we'd be like on the steering wheel, like, dude.
Right. And the jokes are flying in the chat room. Hockey D's got to quack me up, and Derek is rabbit season, duck season. No, Derek, I'd have to say Elmer Fuzz says it's Wabbit season with a W.
Yeah, with a W. As
So,
big as that glass smash was, I assumed that would have been a goose, not a duck.
Right?
No, it was. You could tell it was a mallard. But the other thing with Shanghai going on is, again, this is from a salesperson at one of the Tesla stores, and of course that's not reliable at all, as we know. But
traditional auto dealer.
When a person had asked, he knew that Highland was coming. He wants a Model 3, and he was asking, I'd like to put a deposit down on one, but if they're going to switch partway through, I'd rather get the newer one or wait until the newer one. Can I do that? And the Tesla salesperson had said, we can take your reservation, and you have the option of waiting while we hold your reservation for a number of months. So again, I don't know if I would trust that, because of course we've heard many stories about Tesla salespeople not really knowing the deal as to what is happening with a number of things when it comes to corporate affairs for the company. And the switch to the Highland is definitely one of those things that I would be very cautious about. But
and that's why I said that, it's a gamble if you might want the new thing or if you want the old thing, because what's going to happen if it is imminent, like next week, or not next week, but next quarter, like in a couple weeks. And then they send you an older one, and you want the new one, and you just miss your delivery date, and they reassign it to somebody else. Then there's a chance that assuming the price didn't change, then or if it got cheaper for Tesla to make, then there's a chance the next one is Highland. But if it's many months away, then you've lost your 250 if that's what you were trying to do.
Yeah.
To be able to
right. Well, and if you're doing FSD transfer, you might lose FSD.
Don't try this trick if you're doing FSD transfer.
No,
yes. Order it, take it, done.
Exactly. You don't want to linger with FSD on the line. So
when you're out 15 grand.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no room for playing with that. In fact, for those that are waiting for the switch now, you're cutting it close. When it comes to getting close to the end of the quarter, the rush has begun, and man, you don't want to mess around with missing a delivery day.
Well, yeah, the quarter doesn't end until the end of September, so we've got 6 weeks left. But yeah, I would order it this month, not next month. I'm sorry, Casey. What?
You said it's about 6 weeks out, and that's about if you do a new build and they don't just do the matching you with the inventory, but they actually do match you with a new build and ship it. Then that's the same time. But they could just match you with something you ordered in inventory too, as well. It's like,
I've got a friend that's picking up a brand new red Y in Kitchener on Saturday. So I'm going there to help him with the viewing of the car before he takes ownership. But he's doing the exact same thing that you did, Patrick. He's getting his FSD switched, and that's what got him to move.
Cool. Well, yeah, they've got demand levers. This was certainly one of them. The standard range S and X, there's another one.
Yep.
Yeah, that's very true. Depending on Model 3 inventory, when Highland models are available in the US, they could be priced higher. Especially from what we've been seeing with Tesla just running the Model 3s at the bare minimum. They might just go back to normal pricing. And just cost them less.
Right.
But again, that's all demand levers, right? Who knows what's going to happen? Let's keep in mind that if you introduce a new model of an older model, typically you get elevated sales for a while because you've got people that are waiting for the new model, typically.
And they're willing to pay more, usually.
Yeah, exactly.
Why not take the extra money on the table?
Yeah. Next, Casey's got a story for us.
It's been a minute since we talked.
One of our friends, one of the automakers that have not announced yet.
Yeah, we've talked about we've been talking about the NACS on and off since the last major convert to the NACS coalition or the Team Supercharger. There is a difference because some of the latest converts to the NACS coalition are competing charge providers, so they don't care about the superchargers. But as the car makers and the customers of the car makers, you certainly do care about having the most reliable North American charging network available to your vehicle. And so now Fisker is on Team Supercharger. So by 2025, you'll have native ports, and in 2024, you'll have adapters.
So it's all the same, right? It's everyone's doing the 2024, 2025 switch. It seems that everyone that has signed up for this are following that same game plan.
I thought Fisker was later. They said no adapters until 2025.
Fisker says NACS will apply for its 2025 vehicle lineup. So, yeah, they didn't explicitly say adapters. But if they're putting the port on the car in 2025.
I wonder if they're just last in line for adapters. I know Musk and Fisker are not exactly on the best of terms. They're not buddies after the whole lawsuit on the Model S way back when.
Yeah, there was some news that came out over the weekend that Tesla had signed, and depending on who you were reading it from, that Tesla had signed an order for adapters from a European
third party, a large third party provider.
Volex or Molex?
Other versions of the article read that they had just allowed them to do it, which is a weird thing to have to do when you look at how the NACS was released and you read all the documentation. They don't need their blessing. So I'm going with the versions of the article that stated that Tesla made a bulk order from this company in Europe. Because why would you want in Europe? Why would you want a North American plug? You wouldn't. So
you wouldn't.
So maybe they got like 20 million orders or something. I don't know how many, a bulk order. And that might be why everybody's adapters are coming at the same time, because they're all part of the same bulk order.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's something that is again, the NACS coalition is huge now. Like there's CCS is going to have a real hard time hanging on. It's going to disappear most likely as more and more switch to this. 2024 is going to be an interesting year as these adapters start to hit. And of course, as Tesla opens up the gate to those 12,000 superchargers in North America that they have allowed Ford, GM, and all the others to use. So we're in for some fun, because we haven't seen any notification or indication that the cable lengths are going to change at all in these 12,000 superchargers. So we've got the issue that cables are short, and some of the car models have the charger at not the greatest position when it comes to a supercharger. Block superchargers and people parking outside of the lines is probably going to be the norm for a little while. But don't be too concerned, because of course Tesla is only letting the 12,000 that show on their data that aren't used as much. It's going to be a lot of the sites that are in between cities, not necessarily ones where condo users are using it to charge up their vehicle after work and such. There's going to be a lot of this in between city stuff that will allow people to use them. In California, it's going to be a bit of a problem, definitely. But everywhere else, not as much of a headache, I believe.
Yeah, I was excited to see when they announced the new Cadillac, that the Escalade, that even though it had a CCS port under that giant fuel flap, it was in the correct location for an NACS port.
Right.
Yeah. So you may see some of the maybe see some of those front ports changing to a back driver's side too. Yeah, just like the Escalade.
Switch which side the fake port is on.
Yeah.
Put it on the passenger side, and they don't have to change anything else.
Exactly. So
they've already got 2 holes in the body.
Absolutely. Well, with that, let's do some shout outs and head out of here. Casey, what do you got going on coming up this weekend?
All right. Well, this weekend you can catch me at youtube.com @KCGreen, where we'll be doing a similar show to this until I run out of stuff to talk about. And
which is never.
This guy did 5 hours on Sunday. 5 hours. A marathon.
Yes. Changed a couple diapers from a baby in the middle.
It's like the Casey Green marathon. Yeah.
Yeah.
A telephone.
Further than that, tonight, in about an hour, you can catch me on the What Drives Us show with Russell Frost.
Very good. Very good.
Cool.
I did sneak a Tesla article in there. We'll see if he keeps it on the.
Oh,
agenda.
no, that's gonna be trouble.
We'll see.
That's going to be trouble. I'll tune in just to see that.
Yeah.
But Patrick, what do you got for the folks for partying?
Yeah, so I blog at carswithcords.net, and I've got one up there right now about the whole FSD transfer and how that went. So you can, if you're interested in doing FSD transfer, one, go read my article right now, and then two, order right after.
Yeah, exactly.
Those are the two things you need to do. Don't hesitate. Yes, and knowing this stuff, like I didn't know if you should order it with FSD or not, but clearly you should. You actually you have to. It's part of the requirements, and the sales guy that I was working with made sure that I understood that and got that right when I ordered it, and so all those kinds of little hints are in there. The other thing is Friday. Last week, my solar panels got reinstalled. So so the Tesla panels are back up and going, and just in time for these hot sunny days. And so that's cool. Impressed with the crew that did it. They were in a hurry to get it done and leave, and there was a piece they left on the roof, and I'm like, hey, what's that? And they're like, oh yeah, we'll go get that. Like, yeah, you will. You will just leave stuff sitting on my roof. And then the part of the reinstall was they were going to clean the panels and reinstall them. Well, they didn't clean the panels, and after carrying them around and like where you could see like these dusty spots where they got like the clean spots. So anyway, then cleaning is part of this. You got to hose those off. So they did. And then I was like, okay, there's this grounding strap hanging off over here on the side. You guys going to connect that? And they're like, oh, we didn't notice that. And it's part of the plan. And then it didn't reach. They like shifted them over like about a foot. And so it was too short. And they said, okay, we'll take care of that. And so I went back in the house while they're taking care of that. And then like 10 minutes later, they're gone. And I'm like, they didn't come knock. They didn't do. And then I was like, okay, well, how did they do it? Did they put a new one on? Did they somehow extend it? And no, they just took it off and left. And like, no, come on, this is a ground strap. This is just not for funsies. It's right. Yeah. So so I opened the ticket.
Grounded through AC. No.
Yeah. So I've opened a ticket with Tesla, and they said they would get back to me yesterday. They haven't got back to me yet. So I'm not going to pay the final payment until they fix it. It's not done yet, so I'm not going to pay. And anyway, we'll see how it goes. And it shouldn't be that hard for them to go out and just reinstall this one grounding strap. But I'm actually surprised they left it operational without that and just left.
Clearly care.
Yeah, and it matters to me. I don't want my house burning down. And it was there for a reason. This was a remove and reinstall. So if it was there before, they didn't do any redesign where they say, oh, we don't need it now. Same platform, same system, absolutely required. And I need Tesla to do the right thing and fix this before next week's show, so I can come back and say how awesome they are. Right. Okay, and then the other stuff going on, I am with the Oregon Electric Vehicle Association. You can find us at oeva.org. Thanks.
Fantastic. Well, with that, I want to thank everyone for joining us this evening. If you haven't already, thumbs up and subscribe. Help us out. Doesn't cost you a dime. We want to thank Lee Moon for the music we use every week, and we will get together next Wednesday, and together we'll find out what's happening in the Tesla life. That was a lot.